Welcome back, y'all, to Bible Over Beer. I'm Steve.
I'm Randy.
Salute.
Salute. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, yeah.
Always
Excited.
good to be back.
Another 5 chapters to go after these 5. It's a never-ending saga. A lot of information, a lot of kings. It's hard to follow, so we broke it down so we can kind of learn it.
Yeah.
Learn it more. I tell you what, I'm struggling. I shouldn't say struggling is a bad word to use, but I had to do a lot of reading and rereading and then referencing. And I've been reading a lot of the different interpretations. Well, they're not interpretations. The different versions of the Bible. I guess they are interpretations. We're doing ESV right now, which is, I like it, but some parts are hard to understand. So I go to NIV because that's not the part that's bad, not until the New Testament. Only a few pieces anyways. I do the New Living Testament because that's more of a story. It's a detailed paraphrase. And that rule, I grasp a lot from that, along with the details. So from there, this dive into it, man.
My problem is that we're going through different kings quickly, right? Like a king does this, he dies, his son takes over. So I might be somewhere down below and I'll read something and I'll go, well, wait a minute, they just said before, but I'm thinking of a different king.
Well, no,
I'm reading about a new king now, but I'm thinking back to another king. So
and it's not chronological.
I get confused.
The stories are different. I mean, they're very different.
And I confuse
different is a bad word for it. It's not a chronological order from what I gather. It's like
I don't
one
like
king
that.
here, and then they talk about the king back here because they have to set up, different things. So it is tough to follow. And then, like I said, a couple prophets we're going to hear about, Uriah and Isaiah. Mm-hmm. So it's.
I wonder if anybody's ever kind of rewritten this in easy to understand English.
Oh,
to sort of put it all together and make it a little more readable, I guess.
Well, I'll share. The Bible Project is very, very good. So YouTube the Bible Project, they do a lot of a good.
I forgot about them.
And I watch. There's a lot of resources on there, and they do break it down. And I watch several just to make sure that I'm not getting just because it's at the end of the day you can smell BS when it's BS, and so far I haven't come across that. So, but I'm always on guard to somebody trying to usurp what it means, and so I know. But anyways, there's a lot of information, and again, it's a theme. The Old Testament theme is,
Yeah. So remember, Judah, Israel, 2 different kings. You always got a king for Judah and a king for Israel.
Especially now,
jump back and forth.
After Solomon, Solomon was the last united king.
And why do we have a king in Judah? What is the reason for that?
Why do we? I don't know if we do. They do.
God's promise to David.
Oh, yeah. So,
a lamp. You want to keep a lamp lit for David and Judah.
And we're learning that obviously Jesus' lineage comes through the house of Judah.
Ahaz, chapter 16, reigns in Judah. Ahaz.
Son of Jotham.
Ahaz. 20 years old?
22.
Sorry. Reigns for 16 years, and he did
evil. The theme is that in the Old Testament. But they were warned. Remember, if you get a king, there's ramifications for it.
You either keep the covenant with God or you don't. And it seems like so many of them don't. One of the things that he did, sacrifice his own son by burning him.
That's like the second king we've heard of that's done that. So apparently that's the practice of that's. Yeah. I'll add my commentary.
And I know throughout history there have been groups of people that did sacrifices to the gods, right? Gods, plural.
Yeah, exactly.
And he kept the high places. Those are 2 things of many. He kept the high places, which a lot of them did. Syria and Jerusalem teamed up to attack Judah, but could not conquer Ahaz. He sent word to the king of Assyria, and he also sent treasure from the king's house and the house of the Lord. I mean, he went as far as to strip gold off the doors. It sounds like he just got every bit of precious metal and whatever he get his hands on and sent it to sort of try to appease or buy off.
And it's an attacker.
The king of
Assyria, and so
Assyria.
He pillaged God's house.
Mm-hmm.
That's how little he respected the God of Israel, our God. So that was pretty insightful there.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say that's one of the things I wasn't I didn't get that from the first read. I had to reread that and realize that. So that's why it makes it tough. So
and he did evil, so he didn't have God's protection.
yeah.
The king of Assyria conquered Damascus and killed its people. King Ahaz saw an altar at Damascus and had a detailed drawing made and sent word to the priest Uriah to make a replica. So what was he doing in Damascus?
So he was bringing his pillage from the house of the Lord and making the deal with the king of Assyria.
Okay.
Yeah. And well, I guess he's visiting. Yeah, which is
okay.
Want to say that name?
No.
Tiglath-Pileser. So he was looking for alliance with him, and he was awestruck with his temple. And again, this is blasphemous because he sends it back, plans back to Uriah. So continue.
Yeah, he sent him back, and he ordered that a bronze altar. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, he ordered that the bronze altar that was before the Lord be moved, and what he called the new great one that was built.
Yep.
Put in its place.
So he took the altar from Deuteronomy, right? That the way they were supposed to build it. Now he said, I'm going to go with Assyria's altar, and he's moved the other one, and he said, yeah, you can do some minuscule offerings to that one, but this is where the main offering. And why he did evil and made the people of evil, because that's a repetitive theme we hear about. And he made the people. Usually it's Israel, but this case he's king of Judah.
Right.
He makes them do all the sacrificing to this replica of the Assyrian altar, which I'll add, so I'll add my commentary about that as soon as we get at the end of this chapter.
So he left instructions with the priest as far as for the great altar, what it should be used for, and said in verse 15, the bronze altar shall be for me to inquire by.
Yeah, to go talk to God. So.
Also made other changes and alterations to the house of the Lord.
Well, he blocked the entrance from the king's house to the Lord. He had a main entrance. Okay. So he blocked and sealed God's house up. So it's interesting. Well, this is my commentary in this chapter. We're seeing this theme, and you gotta step back and kind of get out of the weeds and look at the bigger picture. We learned this is the promised land. The Babylonians, can't remember the names, the Jebusites. All these people that were living there before did all this sacrificing, as you mentioned, and they worshipped all these gods, lowercase g, and that's what's going on here. Is they've intermixed enough, and they didn't do what God said in Exodus. Well, through Exodus and all the books we've read after that, Deuteronomy, and this is they're starting to pay for their sins.
It's that reoccurring question, and I keep bringing it up, so I'm just going to say it one more time. They have history, and they know their history. And they know when they're on God's side, good things happen. And when they go against God, bad things happen.
Why? I don't quite understand that, because, again, it's within a generation.
I want to bring Ahaz back from the dead and sit him right here with us.
Yeah, no, I don't.
And I want to ask him.
He's probably not in a good place.
Why?
Well, and if they think, so... We're going to get to a verse I really like is blessed is he who believes without seeing, and I'll reference that up here. It's very powerful because that goes to this, our faith, it's about faith, and these people actually saw, tasted, and touched and smelled. Maybe not Ahaz, but his descendants, and not too far descendants. I guess they're hundreds of years ago.
He didn't even try.
So it's like us, and thinking back to what neither of our families were probably here during the Civil War, but.
Mine was.
Okay, well, what they did in the Civil War, we don't remember now, right?
Right.
And, so that's kind of the way it went. They don't remember the stories, and nobody passed it down. They didn't follow the rules, and so I digress.
Chapter 17. Hoshea reigns in Israel. In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, Hoshea the son of Elah began to reign in Samaria over Israel. And he reigned 9 years, and he did
evil. Dun, 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 dun.
Hoshea paid tribute to Shalmaneser, king of Assyria. Hoshea was betrayed and was imprisoned. He invaded all the land and came to Samaria. I'm talking about the king of Assyria. He invaded all the lands and came to Samaria.
Shalmaneser.
3 years he besieged it.
But because he was trying to get Ahaz. But he could not.
Ahaz was betrayed and was imprisoned.
Well, Ahaz wasn't betrayed. Ahaz betrayed.
Gotcha.
Oh, what is that?
Hoshea.
Yes, Hoshea. Yeah, Hoshea was. Oh, I don't remember that. But I do know that. So yeah. So during this, we haven't got to the part about that betrayed. So you said Hoshea.
Hoshea, sorry.
Was placed in prison by the king of Syria when he found out. Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
he was, because
I might have said the wrong name there.
But no, I said the wrong name. Sorry. It is Hoshea. He betrayed. He was looking for help outside of somebody else, and the Syrian king found out about it and said, "Nuh-uh."
The fall of Israel. In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria captured Samaria, and he carried the Israelites away to Assyria and placed them in Halah and on the harbor, the river of Gozan, in the cities of the Medes.
Yeah, he basically dispersed them.
So obviously the peoples have fallen out of favor with the Lord.
Well, of course, they don't seek his guidance.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the big theme.
And we've seen this reoccurrence over and over again, right? They lose their lands, their promised lands, right? And God's protection.
Yep.
Exile because of, I thought it said adultery at first. Exile because of idolatry, which is worship of idols.
Yep.
I Googled it. Why did God allow this to occur to his people? In verse 7, Israel sinned. So we're just going to kind of go through a few things here. Verse 8, walked in the customs of other nations. Verse 9, built high places. Verse 10, set up pillars in Asherim. Verse 11, angered the Lord. And verse 12, served idols, and etc. The Lord had warned them over and over again, recurring theme, but they did not listen. Goes on to mention all that they did wrong.
Yep.
Which you can read yourself.
Yeah, and it's a good read. And again, this is, it points back to they're not following God's, his prophets are telling them stuff. He's won battles for them. He's opened their eyes in last Kings of show all the angels to some people. It's like, but still. But
goes on, Israel resettles Samaria.
Assyria resettles Samaria.
They took the lands from the Israelites, and he brought peoples from all over to populate Israel and to live in their cities. They did not fear the Lord, so the Lord sent lions to kill some of them.
Yep. So
gets juicy.
What's their great idea?
So the king of Assyria sent one of the Lord's priests back to Bethel. So obviously the king of Assyria believed. We have to find a way to appease this God of theirs.
Correct. So he doesn't believe, but he believes that he has to appease the God. Remember, these people worship gods.
Yes, right? The people that are now in the land.
Well, yeah.
And some of them are being eaten by a lion.
Yep. And then so he's like, okay, well, we've disturbed this land and their gods must be appeased. So they're going to bring back a priest.
Okay.
A priest.
Back to Bethel to live amongst them and teach the people the way of the Lord. They did not listen, of course, and worshipped other gods, sacrificed children, and made offerings in the high places. So these nations feared the Lord and also served their carved images.
Which I will just detail, which is kind of interesting. The Babylonian people that are there, they worship Succoth, Benoth. The people of Cuth did Nergal. People of Hamath did Ashima. The Arvites or Avites, Nabaz, Tartak, and these are some weird names. The Sepharvites burned their children in the fire of Adremelech. And I think, it's almost like, I think it's da 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 da. Remember that? I think that was Adremelech in the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Ah,
remember that?
Yeah.
So,
very cool.
Pretty cool. So,
okay, they did not worship. They did not listen, and they worshipped other gods. But then it goes on to say, but these nations feared the Lord, and also served their carved images. Why did they have fear for the Lord?
I think that's
and why didn't they?
That's the confusing part because when it was capital L, right? Yep. Yeah, because they do a very good job, but when it's not God, it's lowercase gods. So I think because of the evidence they saw, they're not sure which God is greater. They believe in many gods, right? So I think they're fearful, and they think that by staying true to the gods that they were taught of their cultures would help appease our God.
I would just be worried about that lion eating me. That's what I'd be worried about.
You think? What if we taste like chicken?
That was passed down through generations. Their children did the same, and their children did the same as their fathers did.
Yep.
And that's where chapter 17 ends. Chapter 18 begins. Yep. Hezekiah reigns in Judah. At age 25, Hezekiah began his reign of Judah. He reigned 29 years. That's a long reign. Did what was right. Finally.
Yes, Hezekiah was a good guy. I mean, he was a good guy of the guys that are left.
Yeah. And guess what? He removed the high places.
And he salute. And he what else did he do?
Hold on, I'm so excited about the high places being removed. Finally. Including the bronze serpent that Moses made.
Which is interesting, because that's pretty significant. There's Steve's. That could be it. Well, this isn't about drinking, but why not?
Well,
we're drinking a beer. Significant is my trigger word for a sip. Anyhow, but that was
people were making offerings to it.
Yeah, they were worshiping it like as an idol.
Yes,
and it was not meant to be. It was whatever you call it.
But it was kept around for. I mean, it was around.
Well, it was in the ark.
Very long time.
It was in the ark. It was one of the things they were supposed to keep with them as a remembrance of what God did in leading them out of Egypt on Exodus. So
it had historical value, and it would be great if we had it today.
And that's why Harrison Ford did not find it when they opened up the Ark of the Covenant.
Gotcha. They kept the commandments. Okay, people made offerings to it. Kept the commandments of the Lord. This is something that
is what he did.
Kept the commandments of the Lord. And there was none like him or before him. There was none before him or after him that were this good.
And I think in that case, and it could be wrong, but I believe it's like the predecessor and his the person who reigns after him.
He defeated all his enemies. And why was that?
God.
He's protected.
He looked and seeked for God's counsel.
Meanwhile, Hoshea, did I say that right? King of Israel, in in his 7th year, Samaria was taken, and the people were taken by the king of Assyria. Why did the Lord let this happen? Because they did not honor their covenant with the Lord.
Yeah, and Samaria is northern Judah. No, sorry, northern Israel. Well, it's where the northern tribes lived. So it was Judah was in the south. Sennacherib
attacks Judah. In the 14th year of King Hezekiah.
Hezekiah.
Sennacherib, king of Assyria.
What was that again? Sennacherib?
King of Assyria came up against all the fortified cities of Judah and took them. Hezekiah to Sennacherib, 14, verse 14. I have done wrong. Withdraw from me. Whatever you impose on me, I will bear. And then he went on to give him treasures from the house of the Lord and from his own home, trying to buy him off.
And this was Hezekiah did that. So this is part of his,
So Hezekiah, was he the one that did right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did. Like I said, he didn't do everything right. He wasn't like David. That's what's pointed out. So he was bartering. So
I was trying to figure out what.
So I'll jump in a little bit here from my cross-referencing and Bibles for Dummies, and then some other videos when they explained it. There's actual. This makes it sound like it's trivial, so it's not. But there is outside biblical historical evidence of this, what's going on here. They, not to this point yet, but eventually there's historical evidence that they never could conquer the city of Judah, Jerusalem. We're going to, I don't want to give away stuff yet, but it's me, so.
So the fortified cities of Judah were lost. Okay. Hezekiah to Sennacherib, verse 14.
Yes, he went up to meet him.
Yep. Withdraw from me. Okay. So he gave him treasures. Okay. Sennacherib sent his tartan, the commander-in-chief,
and the Rabshakeh,
which is the chief of officers, and Rabshakeh, the chief of the princes. They called for the king, but he sent out
messengers.
Eliakim, the son of Hezekiah, who was over the household, and Shebna, the secretary, and Joha, the recorder. Rabshakeh men. Okay, so this was.
This is where I was trying to get to. He was attacking at Lachish, and that was one of the big cities. It was a huge battle, right? So they're really conquering this. So he's like, okay, you're going to beat us, so I'm going to go appease them, and then he sent his people out. So that's kind of where we're at. And
okay, so
I think, but he said, but apparently word got out. I think he sought help of Egypt as well. So this is where it gets a little funky, because I know Hoshea did some stuff like that, sought help from other people, and then so does Hezekiah. So that's kind of where we're at. So continue on.
Rabshakeh's met. Was he asking for Jerusalem's surrender in a very long-winded way?
Yes. He's basically So the Rabshakeh is at the part where he tells him about and about all we've conquered, because the Assyrians have conquered every city.
It was this long. And what I gathered from it was that he was asking for Jerusalem's surrender.
So, ultimately, but what he's saying, though, is he's saying we've conquered every city, right? We've never been stopped. And it's true, they have not been. And their gods, your gods, have not saved you. Well, of course not, because the gods that they were worshiping were not the Lord. So he doesn't, the Rabshakeh and in Tartan, they have no clue. So that what's about to come too. So.
Gotcha. Hezekiah's men asked that they speak during this conversation. They were speaking in their language.
They were speaking in the word Hebrew, I believe. Well, yeah, I think Hebrew.
Right. So they asked to switch to Aramaic because they felt that the message being delivered was for the king, and they didn't want the people who were around them to hear this. But in verse 27, the Rabshakeh said, "Has my master sent me to speak these words to your master and to you, and not to the men sitting on the wall, who are doomed with you to eat their own dung and drink their own urine?" He went on to explain how it would be good for the people of Jerusalem if Hezekiah gave in to their demands. Hezekiah's men reported back to him.
Yeah, so what he's doing is, it's kind of a ruse too, which you don't learn until the end, but because Hezekiah had said, trust in the Lord, he will deliver us, right? And Rabshakeh is saying, I'm going to speak in the tongue that everybody knows. He's trying to get everybody else to go against Hezekiah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yep.
All right, the prophet
Isaiah
reassures Hezekiah.
Hezekiah
sent his men to consult the prophet Isaiah. Isaiah said to them in verse 6, "Say to your master, thus says the Lord, do not be afraid because of the words that you have heard, with which the servants of the king of Assyria have reviled me. Behold," in verse 7, "I will put a spirit in him, so that he shall hear a rumor and return to his own land, and I will make him fall by the sword in his own land."
Important.
End of quote.
Important. They're using God. They're consulting God to listen to Isaiah. Isaiah is a prophet. Unlike Uriah in the last chapters, where that was, I'm going to digress for a second. Uriah, the prophet for Ahaz, when he built that temple, he's a prophet.
Right.
A priest. Sorry, he's a priest. Well, I think they're one and the same. But anyway, so I can't believe he did what he did. So come back to here. Isaiah is a great prophet, or a good prophet, anyways, because he's counseling God, and God says, look, don't be frightened.
Mm-hmm.
The Syrians are not going to get you.
Sennacherib defies the Lord. The king of Assyria sent message to Hezekiah.
You want me to do this?
Basically what he said was, "Do not let your God deceive you and think you can win against me. Look how I have conquered all these lands around you," which is what you just said.
Yeah, and it was repeated. So, yeah.
We're in chapter 19, by the way, if I didn't say that.
That's right.
Hezekiah's prayer. Hezekiah receives a message and went to the house of the Lord and said a prayer. And it is a long, long prayer.
Well, and it's because the messenger, he after the messengers gave word back, and then the Rabshakeh sent him, look, I'm going to give you the final warning.
Yeah.
He stripped his clothes, got in sackcloth, went into the temple, the house of God, laid the prayers out, laid the letter out, and prayed to God, and said, "Look what they're going to do to me. Don't leave." So a long-winded about, "Hey, we're your people. We're following you. We've removed the high places." A lot of stuff. There's a lot of detail, which we've read a few times. So
exactly.
Go ahead.
Isaiah prophesies Sennacherib's fall. Then Isaiah sent to Hezekiah, saying in verse 20, "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, your prayer to me about Sennacherib, king of Assyria, I have heard." In verse 21, this is the word of the Lord has spoken concerning him. And there's a long prayer after.
Yep.
Chapter 20, Hezekiah's illness and recovery.
I want to back up a little bit too, because it's a very important thing. God heard his word, and what happened? How did he get the people to turn around?
I don't know.
He sent an angel into their camp because they're right outside the gates, getting ready to attack. 185,000 of the Assyrians were killed by an angel.
Did you get that information somewhere else, or did you actually read it?
It's in the Bible. No.
Why am I?
It's in the Bible. It's in between. I'll put it up. Actually, it'd be down here.
Wow. Yep. I just read this.
185. Yeah, 100. Yeah, I mean it's a number. You're usually the guy that calls the numbers out.
Skip something somehow.
Well, that's
like the most amazing part of this whole thing.
Well, yeah, and that's so back to my segue to the historical accounts. It's interesting. The Bible tells that the angel did it. In historical artifacts, Assyria boasted that they could not conquer it, and they were struck by a plague. 6 to 1, half a dozen other. I mean, God works in a lot of ways. We knew in Passover. No, we haven't got there yet, but we'll find out in Passover. So,
last chapter, chapter 20, Ezekiel's illness and recovery. Hezekiah became sick. Same guy. Hezekiah and Hezekiah are the same person.
Hezekiah, yeah.
Became sick and was dying. He prayed to the Lord. And again, I'm really shortening this up. In verse 3, "Now, O Lord, please remember how I have walked before you in faithfulness and with a whole heart, and have done what is good in your sight."
And this is
well. And then it went on to say, "And the word of the Lord spoke to Isaiah."
Isaiah.
And I'm paraphrasing.
Yep.
Okay. So yes, you're right. Sorry, that was the word of the Lord spoken to Isaiah, and he healed the king, and he said he'd give him an additional 15 years of life, and then he will also defeat Assyria.
Yeah, and this is real time too, because I mean, so
again, this is very long, and I really condensed it there.
Well, yeah, and that's what we want to go and take away what we get. We read it. We want you to read
Hezekiah had tears, and
they're upset. The king's about to die. Isaiah tells him, because the Lord says, "Go tell him to prepare his house. He's gonna die." And I'll correct it in the
please, because I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I'm not certain either.
Prayer.
Well, yeah, because I know there's two prayers, and you might have been right. It might have been Hezekiah first, and then Isaiah prayed though. But actually, you're right. Hezekiah prayed, and then as Isaiah was leaving and he left, God spoke to him. Yeah, so it was Randy was correct.
And then Isaiah ran back and said, "Guess what?
Yeah, bonus, you're gonna live, and guess what? 15 years. And wait, there's more. You're going to win. The fall of Assyria.
Yay. Hezekiah and the Babylonian envoys. Babylonian, I can say that. King of Babylon heard of Hezekiah's illness.
Oh, yeah.
And he sent one of his sons to see him.
Well, he sent an entourage to see him.
Hezekiah showed him all that he had, all his treasures, supplies, etc. The prophet Isaiah asked the king what he said and what he had showed them. And the king said that he showed them everything, all that he had. And Isaiah spoke the word of the Lord, and I'm paraphrasing. This is verse 16 through 18. All that he had and some of his sons will be carried off to Babylon. So everything that Hezekiah, all his treasures, and some of his sons will be carried off to Babylon in the future. Hezekiah responded in verse 19, and I don't understand this at all. The word of the Lord that you have spoken is good, for he thought, why not, if there will be peace and security in my days?
So that was tough too. So essentially, and do your own research, that means, okay, maybe down the road, but it won't be in my lifetime. So,
okay.
You know what I mean?
I'm sorry.
So an important thing too.
Okay.
one thing we left about was the defeat of the last. The king of Assyria's sons killed him. 2 of his sons killed him.
Okay.
Which is pretty bizarre. But yeah, this is a lot of. I sound like a broken record on this, but there's a lot of details. But just a little bit. Oh, I know I wanted to share. It's going back to our map, or not map, but our timeline of kings. So you notice this. We started this with Hoshea. That's the end of the house of Israel. They're dispersed. There's argument that you and I are the lost tribes of Israel. A lot of reasons, but that's just word for thought. But you can still see where this is where Hezekiah starts, the green one. A lot of pink, which is evil. One more green one to come. We may not get to them all in Kings. We have 5 chapters left.
Right.
5 chapters left, not 5.
2 Kings, 2 Kings, yes.
Of 2 Kings, and I do believe that Chronicles is kind of another journey around the kings.
Hezekiah slept with his fathers, and his son
Manasseh, which
reigned
is
in his place.
The end. The end.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Well, I mean, again, I did, after doing a lot of reading it, rereading it, listening to it, doing the different versions. It's interesting. I finally got it. So, I mean, I shouldn't say I finally got it, because I think I've got it all along. It's just understanding what's going on. And it's a historical account of what happened, right? And that's good to know, because it's interesting. We, coming forward, we hear the Jewish people, and right now I believe it's Judah. They're from the tribe of Judah.
If there was a quiz, I would fail it miserably.
Yeah. So, well, you would on the details, but I think on the bigger picture, you wouldn't. So with that,
we are signing off. Thank you for joining us. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment.
You hear?
We appreciate it. See you next time.
Ciao.